Conan's new Argossean extension has been out for a hot minute now, and I think it's about time we looked at some specific tips you can use to make this set even better. So, no time to waste, let's get started. Firstly, the spiral stairs. They're beautiful but pretty hard to use, so let me show you how they work. Firstly, spiral stairs should be one of the first things you place, as they can be blocked by walls, ceilings and so on. To make sure they snap properly, you'll want to place them right here where the tiles meet, as opposed to on top of the tiles like you would a pillar. This will ensure that it all lines up nicely. The clipping on these staircases can be a little finicky, that includes when you're walking up them. I find the ones without the guardrails work a bit better, so I would just stick to using those. Thralls also can't navigate them currently as far as I'm aware. That might get patched in the future, but when the bugs with living settlements get fixed, these stairs are an elegant solution to closing off parts of your build from the wandering thralls. If you're watching this much later on, check the pinned comment, as I'll try and keep this updated as to if the issues with the thralls using the stairs are fixed. Spiral stairs are quite nice and make for a great addition to towers, lobbies, basically anything. They can really work as a centerpiece of the build, and when you know how to place them, you'll find them much easier to use. For the next two tips, we're going to cover some placement tricks. Firstly, slotting. Argossean can end up quite flat even at the best of times, but by slotting some of the tiles it creates a lot more detail, especially with some of these new pieces. Let's take this platform here for example. Rather than just building on it as normal with foundations or ceilings, place a ring of pass-through wall pieces like ACF frames, stable gates, etc. Then place foundations inside and replace the pass-through pieces with either the new archways or the new doorways. I prefer the new doorways myself, I think they look really nice. Another alternative option is to build the platform as normal, then replace the walls with doors or arches, and replace the interior ceilings with vaulted ceilings. This ends up with a similar aesthetic, but requires a lot less forward planning and is easier to retrofit onto an existing build. I really like the aesthetic of slotted pieces, especially because the new door frames kinda look like they hold up the level above, and this creates a nice bit of depth and detail that Argossean often really needs. For the second placement trick, real windows. This is a classic and works really well with the Argossean extension, especially with the new fences and pieces. You can combine this with door frames, arches, and even the large arches. Place a pass-through piece, then a fence, and then replace the pass-through piece with either an Argossean arch or door frame. For the large arches, they're a little simpler, just place the fences first, and then simply place the large arches over them. The only downside for this is that it can end up a bit monotonous, so even though the new Argossean fences are quite nice, it can be a bit too much white. In that case, you can replace the new fence with the DLC one for just a little splash of colour that sometimes goes a long way towards elevating the build. Next, sticking with the idea of breaking up some of the more overwhelming tones, the new slit windows are really good for that. On the base layer of each floor between the large window pieces, I like to add a strip of these slit windows to add more exterior colour. You don't really notice them on the interior for the most part, they're fairly subdued and they fit in nicely, but the exterior adds a little splash of blue and a nice break in the plain white walls that Argossean often really needs. Next, let's look at the new dome roofs. These pieces can seem a touch complex at first, but they're really easy to use. The straight pieces act like straight roof pieces, wedges like regular roof wedges, so on and so forth. A good way to add a little framing to them is to add a crenellated wall or a DLC fence on the rim of the roof. This helps to give it just a bit more detail. Additionally, if you end up building a slightly large dome roof, you can finish it in one of three ways. The first is to just build the dome up continually. I'm not a huge fan of this myself, but it can work for some people. The second is to simply just finish it flat. Don't use any fences or crenellations on the top. It looks perfectly fine, and if the dimensions are right it can work nicely with a skylight roof piece. Finally, you can raise a cupola out of the roof with the tricked windows and then finish the dome atop that structure. I personally think that looks the best and produces the best results. Finally, one last tip, I wanted to show you how to build scalable and simple round towers that you can attach to basically any build. Lay down a ring of 6 wedges and place spiral staircases in the centre to whatever height you want. Add a door frame and then a ring of slit windows around it. On every other tile, build large windows to finish with an arched top one tile below the upper floor of the tower. fill the rest with just regular walls. Add 3 wedges atop the stairs at the top of the tower. Use the real windows trick with either 1 or 2 tile high arches, either works, just depends on the aesthetic you want. Finally, add dome roofs and trim them with DLC fences to finish off the tower. This is a simple and easy design that you can attach to really any build, and you can scale it to whatever height you want. And there we have it, some useful building tips for the Argossean Observatory Extension. If you've got some favourite tips that I haven't included here, do let me know in the comments so we can all share in the knowledge. There's likely a ton of other techniques that I just didn't have a chance to cover here too. Thank you for watching, and of course a massive thanks to our wonderful esteemed coffee cultists for continuing to support the channel over on Patreon. If you want to see videos early and support the channel directly, consider joining us over on Patreon, link in the description and pinned comments. Take care, and I'll see you soon.